I'm excited. So I never do this because I do not like sitting on camera and talking to what feels like nobody. So I really appreciate everybody who submitted questions because I needed something to talk about. All right, so let's get into these questions. This Ask Me Anything segment. All right, so Tamiko, my girl Tamiko, which shout out to Tamiko is an SEO strategist and a travel influencer. She's just doing amazing things. And so if you're not following her and you're a small business owner, make sure you go and check out Tamiko Harvey. All right, Tamiko said, when do you plan to retire and have you begun thinking about it? I've been thinking about retiring since the day I started working. I am not one of those people who enjoys working. But no, seriously, I really started to really think about it probably during COVID. We started making money during COVID. I started to be like, oh, I got a lot of cash just kind of sitting around. What do I do with it? How do I grow it? How do I really look toward retiring? Because again, I don't like working. I'm not one of those entrepreneurs that's like people are always like, well, what would you do if you're retired? And I'm like, I would do nothing. I would be on the beach and I would have cocktails and go to Pilates. That's what I would do. And I would maybe volunteer and maybe teach a little bit, but I don't have to be doing nothing every day. But one thing that was important, as I started to think about retirement, I was like, how do I actually retire as a small business owner? What does that look like? Because coming from corporate America where you have a 401k, I'm like, I don't have no 401k anymore. How do I plan for retirement? So I encourage entrepreneurs now to really start to think about that. How do you plan to retire? When do you plan to retire? And so I myself at that point got a SEP IRA. And that's for self-employed pension. And so I got a SEP IRA. The great thing about SEP IRAs, there's a solo 401k, there's of course Roth IRAs. The great thing about all these vehicles are the tax benefits. So I think when I really first started looking into some of these, it was because started making more money, being profitable, and I was like, ooh, I am not trying to pay the IRS all of this money. How can I, not pay the IRS all this money? And so I was able to put the money that I put into my SEP is also deducted from my tax liability at the end of the year. And the great thing about it is that you actually have until April of, I think it's April 15th of the calendar year to contribute for the previous year. I ain't a tax professional. I'm not by any means, or retirement planning strategist or anything, but based on what I know and what I've learned, you have a little extra time. So as we look at 2026, you have until April 2026 to contribute from your profits into your retirement account to save some money on your taxes. Again, I highly recommend getting you a tax strategist. But in my case, worked with my banker at First Horizon, got my SEP set up, and you can, and don't quote me on the contribution limits, but your SEP IRA a lot higher than a Roth IRA. So I was able to put in $30,000. There's a limit on based on how much profit you make. So I'll ask one of my tax strategy friends to drop those limits in the comments. But so I plan to be semi-retired next year. I kind of started down that road this year and really falling back from working a lot. And so I plan to semi-retire next year and be fully retired by 45. So in 5 years. But again, it's all about planning, right? And I will say my SEP is invested in the market. So there are some market fluctuations, but I also was, you can determine if you want it in the market or more secure and safe in vehicles like bonds, things like that. But all in all, you need to be thinking about your retirement plan as a small business owner. You need to be paying yourself, and not only paying yourself, but putting, just like you had that 4% contribution coming out of your 401k, you need to have that contribution coming out, to go into your SEP, your Roth, your your solo 401k. Be planning for it, automate it, do whatever you got to do to make sure that you're putting that money aside for your retirement. Okay, so excited. The next question is from Deshaun Anderson. I call her Gisella. But Deshaun Anderson, who actually used to be on my team years ago when I very first moved to Nashville. So shout out to Deshaun. And she has a great new business where she is selling cakes and things. So, and I need to get one of them cakes, Gisella. So let's make that happen. We like cakes and pies and cookies at my household. But anyway, so her question is, what advice would you give a business owner that's struggling with marketing themselves? I'm here today recording, and I just said how much I hate recording, right? And it's not because I physically do not like recording, it's because I do not like marketing myself. I like to be in the background. I like to get the work done, but that's just not realistic. People want to know you. They want to know who runs the business. I was just sitting here talking with Valeria Lopez, who's a local serial entrepreneur. She don't like it either. Most of us do not like it. We just do it when and how, as we have, because we have to. And so, but the most important thing that I tell folks about marketing yourself is that you have to do it in a way that you feel comfortable with. And so when I set up to come and record, I was like, I'm not about to have to get up early in the morning and go get my hair done and go get a full face of makeup and all of this just to go sit down and have conversations with folks. I don't like all that, and I'm not doing all of that. I'm about to roll out of my bed at 10 o'clock like I do every day, and I'm going to grab some shirts, and I'm going to record, And so if I had to do all of that to get prepared, I wouldn't do it. I would have flaked, I would have canceled, I would have pushed it back. And like I've been pushing it back for years until I realized I'm going to just do it in a way that I'm comfortable with. So I encourage all small business owners, especially when it comes to like creating content and things like that, to not be afraid to do it, but to find the way to do it in the way that you're comfortable with. So I don't mind sitting down having conversations with small business owners. I prefer that versus sitting here looking in the camera recording. And so that's what I'm doing today. But I think it's also a mindset shift that has to we have to get over that hurdle of like bragging. We've been told to be humble. We've been told not to brag and boast and these things. And so when we're marketing ourselves, many times we feel like that's what we're doing, that we're bragging and we, are putting ourselves out there. I think there's also the fear of like, who's going to judge, what they going to say about it, what they going to say about me. And they going to talk anyway. Like at the end of the day, whether you create the content, whether you market yourself, whether you get the press, whatever you do, somebody gonna have something to say regardless. And so, why would you not market yourself? Why would you limit your business growth worried about what somebody else is gonna say about it who probably ain't making no money themselves? So I would say first, getting over that hurdle of like, why are you struggling with it? Like really identifying what the issue is and why are you struggling with it? That was something I had to get over myself. Like fear of judgment, fear of people not liking me. I don't like my voice. Well, my hair is not going to be perfect. And, I'm getting old and, and all of these things, and had skin issues for years, and I broke out a little bit. And now, so it's all like, why are you struggling with it? First, because if you don't know why you're struggling with it, you really can't overcome it, and it's different for every person. But one common thing I see with most business owners is just, we are old school. We're not used to having to put ourselves out there, and it's just the way that business is done. We're in a digital age. I think we've been in a digital age for 20 years now, and it's not changing. We got, AI being introduced. Just imagine where we're going to be in 10 years. And so if we don't get comfortable with doing these things, then we're just not going to be as successful as we could be in business. I hear business owners that are like, I ain't on social media like that, and my business still thriving. But and it's not impossible, but imagine what social media, would do for your business. If it's thriving without it, imagine what it would be with it. And so we just got to get comfortable. And then also the other thing is, like, what are you comfortable with sharing? So there are people who really think that they know me very well, and we've never met before in life, or we haven't seen each other in 20 years because of what I share on social media. So people probably think that I share a lot on social media, but I really don't. And I'm very selective with what I share on social media. I share what I'm comfortable with on social media. So yes, y'all know, I travel about my travels and have a good time. And then me and my husband turn up and we, be dancing and singing and acting a fool. And, I love Biscoff cookies. I'm from Chicago. But these are all things I'm comfortable with folks knowing about me. And so those are the things that I really focus on. So you know them because I want you to know them. And so think about the things that you are comfortable with people knowing about you. All right, moving on down to my girl Kenya, who has an amazing travel business. So make sure you go, if you're looking for a reputable travel agent, make sure you go and check out Kenya June Parham. And so this is a great question for the small business owners. How do you prepare for necessary pivots while still adhering to your original mission? So the first thing is that we got to keep the mission in mind, right? As small business owners, it's so easy for us to get sidetracked. It's so easy for us to be like, ooh, they want to partner with me. Ooh, they want to do this thing. There's an opportunity. There's this thing. And we have to continue to ask ourselves with everything, every new product, every new partnership, every new service, is this aligned with why I started this business? Is this aligned with the mission and vision of the business? I ask myself that very frequently because there are people who come at you from, every direction with an opportunity, with a partnership, all these things. And so you have to continue to ask yourself, like, does this align with why I started this? And, is this going to confuse my customers if I do this? And I'll tell you, I've pivoted 100 times in the last 7 years since I started Black Business Boom. We done went from the Groupon for Black-owned businesses and doing that in several different ways to website builder, to digital products, to, all over the place. One program to another program to, coaching. And I'm going to keep on pivoting. But at the end of the day, my mission when I started Black Business Boom was to support Black business owners and make sure that their businesses were able to grow. And so as long as everything comes back to that, no matter, I've done it in 10 different ways, but they all support the growth of Black-owned businesses. So we got to make sure that we keep reminding ourselves and that we keep reminding our audiences as well. But there's nothing wrong with pivoting. we have to do it. There's so many different opportunities and threats, right? Like for those that went to business school or have been in business programs, we do our SWOT analysis, right? Our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And those strengths and weaknesses are those internal things, the things that you have control over, who you are as a business owner, what your business does. Your opportunities and threats are those external factors that you typically have no control over, right? Your competition, the economy, all these external tariffs, all these things that you don't have any control over. And those are the things that typically force the pivot. COVID, we had a whole pandemic, had to pivot. One of my girlfriends during the pandemic says to me, girl, F them coupons. Don't nobody care about those coupons. Shout out to, I ain't going to even say her name because she's a whole pastor, but she did say exactly that. And so with that, she was like, F them coupons. And I was like, you're right. Like nobody can even go outside. They're not thinking about a coupon for a restaurant. And the business owners are they can't afford to even discount 10%. They are worried about keeping their doors open. What's next? We got to figure out what's next. So it's nothing wrong with pivoting. Maybe you just don't like it no more and you want to pivot. That's fine too. You don't have to have this big reason for the pivot. It can just be that you want to go in a different direction. You want to serve your customers in a different way or a better way. So there's nothing wrong with pivoting. Just make sure as you're considering the pivot, like that you don't go off and do something that your audience is going to be like, what? Like that doesn't even make sense. Like on the topic of that, like with serial entrepreneurs, many times, like I see many of us that are like, we're doing hair, we selling insurance, we got a podcast, we all over the place. And so your customers really don't know what you really do and what to come to you for. So my thing is like, even though I have all these different lanes that I'm in when it comes to Black business owners, when you think about me, you thinking about Black business, right? Like, so even if you were a hairstylist and you were like, you know what, I think I might go to esthetician school, or I think I might start doing lashes, right? It's still in the lane of beauty. So your customers still, they think about you, they think about beauty. And so it's an interesting thing. Like, I'm not against being a serial entrepreneur, and sometimes you do move into completely different lanes, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure that your customers know what to come to you for. Next up, we got Cece, who is one of our Booming You grads and also an amazing caterer. She catered our Thanksgiving, and I've got meal prep from her, all that. But anyway, Cece asked, how do you decide what to hold on to and what to hand off in your business? Sometimes she feels like she can accomplish it all, and you cannot accomplish it all. There are a few different ways that I kind of evaluate that. One of them is, do I enjoy doing it? Because many times everybody's telling us to get a team and delegate and all this, but now we've given away the parts of the business that drive us to want to do the business. And now we're not passionate about the business anymore because we're not doing the things that made us want to start it in the first place. So for me, it's really important to be like, what do I enjoy doing in the business and how can I keep that? And what are the things that I absolutely hate doing every day, every week, every month? And who can I give that to? Tedious little things that you just don't enjoy doing, things that don't maximize the revenue in the business. Like you as the CEO, founder, president, whatever you call yourself in your business, you need to be bringing in the money. You are the money maker, right? So Should all your time be spent sending emails and taking pictures? No, of food. No, that's not where your money, where your time needs to be spent, right? So I also evaluate if I am worth $100 an hour or more. If I'm worth that, should I be spending my time doing something I can pay somebody $8 an hour to do? Absolutely not. And you have to kind of know your own numbers of what you feel like your value is in your business. But at the end of the day, you can't do everything. And you have to figure out like what are the things that you should be doing, and those should be the things that are truly driving revenue in your business, even if that's like, related to customer satisfaction, because at the end of the day, you make a lot more money keeping your current customers than you do going out and trying to get new ones. So that's important, really understanding from a revenue standpoint, how you should be spending your time. Many of us feel like we have to have full-time employees and things like that when we start to build our team or hand things off, and you don't. I am a platinum member of Fiverr, Fiverr, for those that are not familiar. I hand things off to strangers in wherever across the world on Fiverr who are pros at doing that thing and can get that thing done quicker and better than I can all the time. And I have a team. I have a team of people who work for me and work with me, and I still am like, who else can I get to do this thing for $10? And I use Fiverr a lot for that. And there are other platforms like freelancer.com, Upwork. So think about what are those things that, you want to get off your plate, you need to get off your plate to be more productive and to be more happy in your business. Also, CC said, when considering moving your business to a new state, what factors matter most? Cost, community, or opportunity? All of them. All of them matter. Cost is absolutely important, because if, you're moving to another place, and let's say you have a brick and mortar business, and the cost of a lease or rent is going to be more in that state, that can really be harmful to your business. If the products or services are going to cost more for you to acquire or to get shipped to you or whatever, that costs more in your business. That's really important. The cost is the most important thing, in your business to me. So you definitely need to that's a great factor to consider. Community, really important. Like, are people going to support you? How do you be proactive in building community before you even get somewhere? Really tapping into how the community integrates, and, how do they operate, and how do they communicate, and what platforms do they use? And are you moving to a community where you do meal prep, but everybody eats fast food, and so that might not be a good fit. But I'm all about, just being proactive. You can create community. We're online. I don't have to be anywhere, physically to create community there and to start building up my following in a new place. So I'm all about, how do you proactively, before you even go there, you can start marketing. You can start building a wait list. You can start getting people on your email and your text list. So I encourage you, you can do business anywhere. You can build something wherever, but you're gonna have to do some work. I would do some work up front before uprooting and moving my business. Last question I got here from Brittany Love. Shout out to Brittany in Clarksville, who's a real estate agent. How do you maintain a healthy work-life balance as a married business owner? I shut it down. My marriage is the most important thing to me. And so I have learned how to stop working at a reasonable hour, or if I have to work later, I am working on the couch next to my husband. He watching TV. I'm working. I do not work on Fridays, Saturdays, or Sundays, and and I don't work most Mondays either. So I'll say I don't take meetings any of those days. I don't work at all on the weekends, but on Fridays and Mondays I don't take any meetings. That gives me time to take care of stuff around the house, to spend time with my husband, to have doctor's appointments, to do all of those things, to go to the Pilates studio or whatever, catch up with my friends and have lunch. So it's really important to me that I stay grounded, but I just want to recognize the fact that like everybody doesn't have the luxury of doing that. And it took a lot of years of grinding to get to that point. And it's really about boundaries in everything that you do. But I think the most important thing for me was having somebody who gave me the room to do what I had to do for my business. Like, I can't have nobody that got to be up under me all the time or want me up under them all the time and don't understand I got business to handle. Like, this is important. I'm trying to retire my husband. Like, I'm trying to retire and I'm trying to retire my husband. So I need you to understand I'm going to be gone. I got meetings all day. You won't see me. I got to travel for work. He travels for work. I can't. Everybody has to do what they got to do. And so at the end of the day, we love each other. And that's important, but we also got business to handle. And if you got a significant other that got to be up under you all the time and don't understand that you might have to be out and about handling business, you're going to have some problems there, men or women, because it goes both ways. As a woman, I had to find a man that was like, she about her grind. And, I might only see her 2 times this week, but that's because she's busy. She's working a full-time job and she's running a business. So, and he gave me the space to be able to do that. So now that I'm in a better position where I don't have to be about the grind every day, now I can make sure that I prioritize. I spend every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with my husband. Every now and then one of us goes out, but for the most part, we're together every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We know that's our time, at least 2 out of the 3 days. And we typically are on the couch watching movies, doing whatever. And the last thing I'll say is that we make sure we take time to vacation. Every year for his birthday, my birthday, and our anniversary, we are out of the country somewhere. And then we take a few other trips during the year. When he travels for work, many times I'll pop up out of town and spend time with him. But it's just all about prioritization, and making sure that you set that boundary with your business and with your significant other to respect the other thing. All right. Thank you so much to everybody who submitted questions. If you have any other questions for me, I'm going to be doing this again next month. So make sure you just shoot me a DM, drop it on my page, whatever. Email me, Danielle@Black Business Boom, if you have any questions about anything, business, personal, life, Chicago, Nashville, pizza, Biscoff, whatever it is, send me a message and I'm happy to answer those questions. Thanks, everybody.